Hey, we are live with Wayne Worthington. Wayne is a vice president for executive search at Rains International. Did I get that right, Wayne?
Yeah, you did, Mike. Thanks.
Thanks. That was one of the things we discussed in the pre-session to make sure I get it right. Thanks for spending your time with us today. I guess, Wayne, what is Rains International?
Yeah, well, Rains International is a executive search boutique firm. All right. So what the firm does is it helps place top talent, CEO, C-suite officers for a variety of industries and top companies.
Oh, cool. That's so, and you're a VP there.
I am. So as a VP, I'm one of the lead consultants. Specifically for me, I focus in the technology and software industry. And so my role there is to find clients. So they're people that need talent solutions, right? Human solutions to business problems. And in that is then to step out and find, these top individuals that will, in a sense, parachute in, drive tremendous transformation, growth, and value in companies.
Well, that's really cool. So I love that, going out there and finding these difference makers, C-suite leaders for organizations that are going to drive change. You didn't just wake up one day and become, a VP in an executive search firm, right?
No.
And you look really clean cut. You look like you got a military background. So what was your path to Rains?
Yeah, no, that's right. Look, Mike, as I look back on my career, I think I've been in talent my whole life. And so my path to get there is that I'm a Midwest boy, right? Oldest of four, grew up in Iowa. And with that, had opportunities to step off. I went to the Naval Academy for my undergrad degree. Now, at the Naval Academy, I studied naval architecture, which is the engineering of ships and hull design. And specifically, what I learned there between the Navy and Marine Corps, where I ended up, is that in the Navy, the people support the system, right? So it's all about the shipmate self. That's the mantra there. And after studying that, I knew I wanted to go the other direction and get to the heart of leadership and what that was. And on the Marine Corps side of things is that the system supports the people. All right. So every tank aircraft that we have is about the Lance Corporal, the 18-year-old kicking indoors. All right. And so it's a complete opposite between the two. Studied one, wanted to go to the other place. And so then I spent the next 5 years in the Marine Corps Infantry, commanded a platoon of 40, promoted XO, second in command of 260, deployed with both of those units. And then I had the opportunity then to serve as the operations officer for a battalion of 1,000. Okay, so that's my military career, 5 years there. And, at the time, I wanted to step off and do something else. I felt I had done what I had come to do, held the torch high for those folks that might be listening to this that didn't go see combat or, struggle with getting out, is that's what I had done. And so I threw the net wide. Right. We're told as military folks that you do operations or logistics, and it's really whitewashed that way. And so, sure, I looked into Amazon and different consulting firms and things like that. And what I really looked for in stepping out was a place to receive mentorship, education, right, and a place to run as hard as I could, right, this entrepreneurial spark.
Yep.
And I found that in talent. All right. So I stepped off and joined a large firm called Korn Ferry. So I was with them. It was a great mentorship relationship that I had with a prior academy grad. And I learned everything. I mean, cut my teeth and in a lot of ways received a walking MBA, right? From this relationship with a sensei to, young student. And so, as we learned in the Marine Corps is that in any defeat, right, any shortfall, you can always find victory. And so here comes COVID, right? And it was a situation of last in, first out. And so just as I had transitioned out of the military a year prior, I had to find a new opportunity, right? Korn Ferry stepped off to the left and I went to the right. And soon after, I found a role with Rains International. And so moving from Korn Ferry, a large public firm, 7,500 employees, now to a privately held 40-person boutique firm.
Right.
And the best way to describe the difference here is like going from the conventional army to a SEAL team. I mean, the big group, everyone's there, no one knows who you are, down to a highly professional, focused group of excellent people that, our baseline of hiring folks at our firm is, would we take a loan out for them to join us? All right. So that's where I am today. And I was hired.
Hold on. Before you get into that. So a couple things. I would say that what I liked about that is the change between the large organization to the small. I would say that there's a lot of highly professionalized, focused people at Korn Ferry as well, right? Yes. It's just that I think that the big piece you said with a boutique firm is, if you want to hire someone, the question is, will we take a loan out for them? Because you have to think that way when you're in a small business. Trust me, I get that. So I love that. Now, what did you do at Korn Ferry?
So at Korn Ferry, my title there was senior associate in the global software practice. Now, this is where I was an executor. So how retained search works is that if a client comes to us and said, we need a CEO for this software company, we work with them. We understand the situation at hand. What's the company like? Where's it been? Where is it today? Where does it want to go? And we create this profile, a spec of an individual. Now, is the senior associate role, it's my job to go find that person.
Oh, you sourced. You basically sourced all the candidates. You went to find the best candidates to provide the company.
That's right. And so I worked with a dedicated researcher, and the two of us would create a search strategy. The researcher would go find, let's say, 300 profiles that fit our calibration. From that 300, I would groom them and then reach out to every single one, or the ones that made sense, identify who was best, and then begin to work the recruitment side of things to pull them out of the job that they're happy in to find greater opportunity, right? And, with that, you start to focus on, what motivates people? Why would they want to take my call? And what about this situation actually is inspiring to leave your current job? And so that's what I did in that position, was the individual on the phones, screening candidates, finding the spark, and then presenting them to clients to, build that team.
Can I ask a somewhat uncomfortable question?
Sure.
I noticed you said encourage them to leave their job. So you didn't say hire the unemployed people. Did you find those currently employed were more desirable to your clients?
Yeah, it's true, right? So if someone's unemployed, it's a little bit harder because the client's going to ask why. Why did they leave? Why are they not employed? If they were the best, why weren't they retained? Okay, so the best time to find a new job, the best time is when you have a job. The tough part is that it's the hardest time, right? Because you're engaged and it's a secondary effort. All right, so we do see that the best indicator of future success is past success. And the best employees often are highly engaged and quickly pursuing, what they have at hand.
Here's a good question for you. I want to handle this one, but I'll let you handle this one. Jeff Cronin seems to have a chip on his shoulder. So why do these firms hire young, inexperienced officers, vice officers who have served a career with division and corps level positions? Yeah.
And so just to be clear, Mike, perhaps you can help clarify this, how you want the questions to spin. These firms, now, do you think this is the client hiring individuals, right? So to develop them through their system, or do you think he's, referring to Rains and hiring me?
Yeah, Jeff, we'll put that one up to you again. Are you talking about the firms that are looking to hire people or the executive search firms themselves? And then
what we can do, Mike, is I'll just jump into
both
both sides. I'm about both sides here.
Yeah. Okay.
And so first off, I think that when they see individuals that are just stepping out of the military, in that a lot of ways they see them as this raw potential, right? Young, we can put them into these different positions, we can move them around. And there's a lot that they can learn and soak up to become more like us. Some of the things that I think are inaccurate presumptions by the market is that higher ranking officers, in a sense, have an initial impression of being too belt fed, right? So it's a term in the, certainly in the Marine Corps we had, or too huddy hut, right? These are just things that all of us adopt these characteristics. And so for the question there to be hired, it's certainly important to drive, transformation, and that you are someone who's always been agile in developing your organization over the last 20 years, which the military has seen tremendous innovation, and that you're someone that does that, an early adopter, someone who drives that change. And that, it's not that I'm getting out of the military. It's just that I'm going to a new organization that happens to be called Amazon, Microsoft, something like that, and not the Army.
So the way I would interpret the question also was, why are they only, I think that's why is industry always looking for JMOs instead of these division and core level 06s and above? And what I would argue is that because a lot of those 06s and above or E9s are looking for C-suite level positions or senior executive positions out of the military. And unless you're going directly into the defense industry and can show that you're going to be able to drive revenue through relationships, contracts, everything else like that, the value just isn't there, because you've got to be able to show how you can manage P&L, how you understand the industry, how you have the relationships to drive business. And so
it's just not a proven commodity yet, right? It's a lot to risk. A poor hire at the top can set back a company years. So, with that, I certainly taking the time to listen, perhaps it will be a decrease in pay, and you might be thinking that the role titling is below your level. But by going in, cutting your teeth, and being baptized in the waters of the civilian sector is a great way to take one step down that's going to project and propel your career forward quite a bit.
I think that's a great explanation. And I share that had I not had my year, and I'll bet you it's kind of the same for you, had I not had my year prior to joining EY, where I got to touch and learn so much, I would have failed as a senior manager, as an executive at EY. And I would have went down flaming, because I just didn't have the background and the experience and the knowledge to really hit the ground running. And it's still, like, I was sucking from a fire hose for about 8 months, like head about to explode, like calling my peer mentor and saying, like, how do you do all this? I don't get it.
And Mike, something I see online often, Amazon's such a massive employer and a sensible place for many military folks to go, right? You have a lot of individuals that you supervise in these fulfillment centers. And I'll see profiles that I'll come across of battalion commanders, right? These 05, 06 levels who join Amazon, right? And this is at the level 3, level 4 bands. They're called area managers and things like that. Now, look, that's a huge decrease in personnel responsibility. But what you'll quickly see following that is the quick stair stepping of them moving up, very quickly within the organization to senior levels.
Right.
And so, I'll stop there as far as answering that question, and hopefully that was helpful.
Yeah. I think that there's just a key part is understanding industry, right? When you talk about the difference between a JMO and a retiring 05, 06, you're talking about there are a lot more jobs out there for JMOs, right? Because at the pay band or the level you're bringing them in is there, and you see value with someone that has a professional education, has had a leadership role, has had to, at some point traditionally has commanded an organization. And so they bring in enough to demonstrate that they've done it, but they're not locked into that for 20, 30 years, and there's room for growth. And when you talk about a senior level, there's just, when you're talking about an executive role, you're talking about significantly more investment and significantly greater amount of risk for the company to So it's got to be the right personality, and quite often there has to be some. For me, I've seen there has to be some kind of a personal connection, so that they're like, I know Wayne. Wayne has been in the Marine Corps for 25, 30 years, but they're a rock star and they're going to get it.
Right.
And we could take that risk because we feel comfortable with Wayne. Not, I need, a chief human resources officer. Let me grab that 06 that's been, it just doesn't, they're going to say, well, do they know employment law? Do they know, Fair Labor Standard Act? Do they know benefits and compensation? How are they?
It's very different. Fundamentals are the same as far as leading, motivating, inspiring a group to do something, create value. Those fundamentals are the same, but certainly not the day-to-day tactics, you could say.
Yeah. So, okay. So Jeff, thank you. You took us on a little side note, but I think it's valuable for people to understand. So you went through Korn Ferry. You got this baptism by fire into the, talent search business.
Yeah.
You did it for a year, and yeah, it happens. We never know where life is going to take us. And then you moved over to Rains International. So now Rains is doing executive search. What is your role there?
So it's twofold. I would say it's an intermittent role between purely executing, right? So finding the candidates, grooming them, and then also driving business development. All right. Mm-hmm. So in this piece, my frame of view goes from just internal execution now to the external, and beginning to bring in this business. And so now it's about creating relationships and driving those relationships to help to fill those needs, right? So sharing the Rain story, the unique approach that we bring to the market compared to our competitors, right? A bit of the value creation there. And then also for myself is leveraging my network and bringing a bit of the angle from the Marine military background to the marketplace, which isn't, abundant for executive search, and to provide that for our clients. So it's a bit of the twofold now intermittent step between pure execution and then pure business development.
Did your time at Korn Ferry help you get this role?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Without Korn Ferry, I would not be qualified for this role.
Right. Okay. I want people to understand that. I think that's a huge part of it. That knowledge, that name.
The transition piece is that the reason I would say I was hired, what helped me to be hired at Korn Ferry, is understanding what that spark of leadership is, right? I mean, it's driving towards these character traits. And then also the bet that was put on me by Korn Ferry and the individual that hired me there by saying, I'm going to take this military individual who doesn't know business. He does have, I like to think that I have the spark and the ability to identify these traits, and I'm going to teach him. All right. So first off, I had a lot of mentorship poured into me. And I, in my year there, did 12 placements. I mean, 3 CEOs, VPs of sales and marketing, CMOs, GMs. I mean, function agnostic. Yeah, a lot of work and a lot of placements. Now, when I stepped out then, because I had the experience of Korn Ferry, along with the scale of responsibility from the Marine Corps, those two combined created a situation where I was someone that Rains was interested in bringing on.
So I think that's something interesting as well. So 12 placements doesn't sound like a lot of work. It doesn't sound like success. I have an idea, but I think a lot of people don't realize that that's a big number.
It's quite a bit.
Walk us through what's involved in a placement at that kind of a level.
Right. So the process takes about a fast process would be 90 days. Okay. And now in this process, I'll be juggling, or, it's not juggling like you can't give attention to it, but I'll be managing now a maximum of 5 searches at a time. Okay. Now, because of the high level of these searches is that I serve as the ambassador of talent and this company or firm, private equity firm, whoever we represent, to the marketplace. Okay. So the company or the private equity firm puts a retainer on us. We're full-time working on behalf of them. All right. And out in the market, the only ones representing this role to find it. Now, the process there is that I'm reaching out to 100 individuals right, that fit a very specific, highly refined calibration. Then it's pulling them out of those companies. I mean, it's finding a CEO who's just exited and sold theirs to come to this next project and not the others.
Yeah, I guess that when you put it that way. So, I saw Robert just said 12 placements in a year at exec level was huge success.
I'm proud of it and happy that I was able to contribute and provide value in that way.
And I'm sure when you have that on a resume and you go to a boutique firm like Rains International, like if you placed 12 executive level roles, would they be happy with your production this year?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, some of the changes here is that one of the ways that Rains likes to separate itself from the marketplace, right, from the others that we compete against, is that we have a maximum of 5 searches per consultant. Now, the best way to explain this is Mike, if you're going to have surgery or receive care from a doctor, what's better, a doctor for you and only 4 others, or just the best doctor, again, with 50 patients, right? So this doctor to patient ratio is one of the things that we do to separate us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, also in this, Mike, let's say you needed a new chief marketing officer, let's say for higher military. It blows up. It's a huge company. You're doing.
It's already blown up. What are you talking about?
You're right. It's even bigger. It's even bigger. All right. And in this is, Mike, that any CMO that I would present to you, I would completely endorse them to be your CMO tomorrow.
Right.
All right. And so it takes all the work off of you. And we say, Mike, hey, let's meet next Friday. I want to introduce you to these 4 people. They're fantastic. Now, at the same time, pros and cons here, pros and cons there, compare and contrast. But Mike, each one of these is going to bring value to your company. And so you would interview them. And then from there, again, I'm your ambassador to bring them through onboarding, contract negotiation until they're in the seat. And then also we ensure that if that individual, doesn't stay for a full year, we'll do the search again for free, because we know that having someone stay and the right person really drives value creation for our clients.
So I love that you just gave me a cool sales pitch.
Yeah.
And that you worked it in. But I love it because I think people don't realize that if you want to be a VP, that very often there is revenue generation requirements there.
Mm-hmm.
I loved the pitch. It was well done. You used my name a bunch of times. I mean, I think people could learn a lot from that. So, and I will reach out if I'm hiring that CMO, but I'd be a pain in the butt to work for, because I'd either be a pain in the butt or I'd be their dream come true to have a CEO so involved in branding. So,
Mike, it's tough work, and people are so difficult to place, right? As much as we want to talk about psychometrics or testing or the Hogan exam or whatever. No. Hey, everyone. It was just an example because I'm speaking with him.
I love it. So let's get into your day, though. So it truly hammers home the point that if you want the high-paying, the executive roles, you've got to know how to sell. And I know too many service members, especially senior leaders, come out of the military and they're like, I don't want to sell. I don't want to be, that's it. Like, I don't want to sell. And I'm like, stop. Why would we pay that kind of money then? Mm-hmm. And I think that they need to learn how to sell, and how that, in our world out here, businesses don't run to give money out. Which
is very different than the military, right? Because it's, the paycheck's gonna come,
right?
Yeah.
So let's focus into your role then. So you're the VP. You're responsible for business development, so bringing in new clients.
Mm-hmm.
Do you do any recruiting yourself, or do you have people that work for you?
Yes. All right. So
okay, so I love it. So you sound like you're an intel interrogator that if I don't answer the question right, I get the answer I deserve.
No worries. So my day in and day out is the the thing that I leverage the most is the discipline I learned from the military. Right? You wake up and you PT. All right. In the same way here, I wake up and I do my outreach. I must be sending messages out. I must create personal connections. If I send a message on LinkedIn that says, hey, let me sell you something, relationship is done. Mm-hmm. They're never going to contact me back. It's about how can I provide value? All right. So I start my day off with what's going to move the needle forward. And that's business development, right? So reaching out to individuals that I believe I could provide value to. Now, that's a conversation with messaging to CEOs, with private equity operational partners. All right. CHROs, VPs of talents, individuals like that. And I'll segment that over the year, right? On who I'm reaching out to. So that way I can approach it, a calibrated campaign plan, similar to how you would prepare for a deployment. How are we going to build to success here? Now, when it comes to search, I also have a few projects right now that I'm working on. And so these are CEO roles, CMO roles for global client of ours. And so I'll do my outreach, and that's what moves the needle forward. My responsibilities there. I also have responsibilities in serving as the talent ambassador for our clients.
Right.
And so I'll then, do a huddle with our research team who has been out in the market, mainly LinkedIn, or we'll go on different forums or speaking events and find these individuals who publish content and speak or articles. And they'll say to me, Wayne, here's our 50 candidates that I've found. And in that, it's just like, back in the military too, who would you recommend? It's developing those below me. And they, the feedback is these 15, right? So then from there, if I want to get in contact with you, I promise I'm going to use every possible avenue to do so. So I'll call, text, send an email, LinkedIn also, and then continue to reach out, because until an individual has said no, then perhaps they haven't got the message.
Right.
And this opportunity I want to share because I believe that it could be of huge value to you. Right. And as I look at it, the three things that people are motivated by today, and this is written by Daniel Pink in his book Drive, is autonomy, mastery, and purpose. All right. And so in connecting with these high-level individuals is, how do I communicate to them the autonomy of this role, the mastery and responsibility to be able to focus, right, to expand those skill sets, and then also the purpose behind it. How is it creating value for them and their family? Is there a move required? How is this a progression in their career and things like that? Right. So hitting on those, some of my tricks, you could say, in bringing individuals to a new opportunity. So
I'm a big fan of, unless the jobs are nowhere even remotely close to what we would do, of taking the call, right? No matter where you are, if an executive search firm, a recruiter, or whatever wants to chat about a role, take the call. Because number one, you never know. You may want it. Two, you may have someone you could refer.
Exactly. And that is where we find some of the best candidates also, because it's all timing also, right? It's timing too. And so I, over the last 2 years now, have continued to build a large network. And it's important for me to continue to build that, right? And also nurture it. So in that effort is, let's say I'm looking for a CEO of a $15 million SaaS play. So software as a service company with private equity back. I'll go back and I'll call all the CEOs I had talked to for previous searches like that. I know the timing's wrong for them, but they'll know someone that it makes a lot of sense for.
Right.
And having that soft endorsement or referral is fantastic in finding some of the best individuals.
So what, I guess the question I have is, what percentage of people respond? Ballpark. You're probably going to say like 90 because you just keep going until they actually do, or?
Well, I would say it's about 50%.
Okay. And that's what because I will share transitioning service members. In my experience, I think Jason Willett tracked his engagement over, like, people that signed up, and their response rate was like 17%. And that's one cycle of that, not keeping going after them.
Well, there's different software now that we have access to identify phone numbers and personal emails. And look, unfortunately, almost all your information's out there. It just is how the internet is today. Yep. And so I'll use those to try to get to them.
Do you leave voicemails?
Sorry?
You leave voicemails.
Yes. And also, that's something that we cannot forget about. This human touch is so important. Yeah. It's picking up the phone, pushing the buttons. I know it's a screen now, right? And making the call. Okay. And there's also new software out there that's really fantastic that you can have a small voice video message on an email that's personalized. And listen, there's just so much junk now. It's how do we stand out above it.
I love it.
Right? And it's not these crap messages on LinkedIn. It's not the bad emails that use the software to just plug a name in. It's this, you can't do that because everyone's doing it. And so you need to find ways to be better. And, you know, that's why I love the time that I had in the Marine Corps. I mean, I received, like I said, far more than I gave. And the mentality of maneuver warfare, constantly trying to find the gaps in the combat of business, right? It's what it is, because I have a lot of competitors out there that want me to lose, and I want to win, clearly.
Yeah.
Is using that mindset of how can I always innovate? How can I move to the next gap? How can I find the next weapon system that's going to create success?
Yeah, I love it. So I got to ask this question. You've got CMO roles, CEO roles, C-suite roles you're filling. Is an E9 or an 06 right now getting out this month, would they really be a solid candidate for any of those roles?
No.
Now, 2 years from now, after being in industry at the appropriate level, could they be considered? And
absolutely, and extremely desirable.
Okay.
Because, you know, we have a good and fantastic push now around diversity. Military talent, in some definitions, and for many clients and companies, includes military talent.
Yeah.
Right? And listen, for all the 06s, E9s listening, you serve your country, and thank you for your service. Also, you know how to lead, motivate, and inspire. Right? I share that I had the opportunity to lead Marines to climb mountains, both physically, right, but metaphorically. And that's the skill set, this talent that the military community has, that it just needs to be shuffled. It needs to go through the boot camp of the civilian world, which is these 2-year entry-level roles. You cut your teeth, you get your stripes, and then that is the fantastic candidate that I would love to place and seek out often to place for these different opportunities.
And I would counter that by saying not necessarily entry-level roles, not like 20-year-old role, like 20-year-old out of college roles, or
No.
Entry level for you, getting in there and getting that operational experience, learning the industry, just kind of figuring out the gaps and filling them. And then you really become that incredibly valuable candidate.
Yeah, let's say entry. You know, these words are pretty ambiguous.
Yeah.
You're not going to go from commanding a unit of 10,000 to leading a business unit of 10,000.
Right.
Just because, you know, it wouldn't make sense for an Army officer to then all of a sudden lead a aircraft carrier.
Right.
I mean, they're so different. All right. It's the same way of thinking. Okay, you're a naval officer. You're not going to be a squadron commander. Well, that's a little blurred, but you get what I'm saying here. Yeah. It's a bit of a movement for you to cut your teeth, right? Learn how to walk the walk, wear civilian clothes, speak in those terms, understand the values, how to move the needle there, which is the P&L, right? Driving revenue and value, which is just a little bit different.
Yeah. I think no, you're good. Stephen Mintz, I had a conversation with him last week, and he shared that he's at Microsoft. The Microsoft CMO has a term called one move. Like, don't try to change roles and industry and level. If you want to make a move to the industry and work from there. Or, you know, make a move to a promotion and move up and stay in your same role. Or, you know, like, it was kind of an interesting concept to me. So, and I think that industry will set your value immediately coming out based on how you communicate what you've done and what you want to do and how much of an overlap there is.
Right.
And then from there, just sky's the limit.
Right. And Mike, the thing that I found helped me the most in what I communicated was driving transformation.
Yep.
All right. And that's what a lot of leaders and companies are looking for. And as a military individual, you can say that I supervised this many people, but that doesn't translate well. And deployments doesn't translate well. And me talking about the ranges that we went on, right? Or our ITX, or these different things in the Marine Corps, right? That doesn't really translate and provide value. And so
nobody has 200 direct reports.
No, right? And so what it was is when I communicated my story, storytelling is such an important skill set that needs to be practiced.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Perhaps my story at the beginning of this, I mean, I've said it hundreds of times, and I understand the exciting buzzwords and the things to say that communicate who I am and the value that I hope to provide. And so for all the military individuals listening, is that when I was with this platoon, we drove transformation, right? The individuals, we had the highest promotion rate, or this is the changes that occurred. And then I was promoted, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, listen, I know that many of them come with time, but at the same time, you are promoted.
Right.
And it's okay to take that as a great accomplishment.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I was promoted. I drove transformation again, and we achieved these things.
Yeah.
And again and again. And then now when I stepped out, I drove transformation to my next opportunity, right? I desired this. I went after it. And that's a bit about what you're saying with the Microsoft CMO is this precision, right? Yeah. Be excellent today.
Mm-hmm.
Be excellent at this right now. How can I focus? And I think that certainly has helped me, and I see it help many others that focus on how can I be excellent at this today.
That's the biggest challenge that faces transitioning service members is figuring out that focus. What do you want that focus to be? Because it can't be what you've done. It can't be the career behind you.
Right.
It has to be the piece of that career that relates to what you want to do next.
Right. And it's okay not to know what you want to step into. Right. It's okay. I didn't. I had no idea what I wanted to do. What I did know is that I wanted to be a valued member on a high-performing team, right, that achieved its goal.
But you knew it when you heard it, right?
It sort of came together.
It came together because somebody you knew talked to you about a role, and when you heard about it, you kind of got excited about doing it. About their team.
Well, for me, right, so the what am I saying? The mission of the Marine Corps is to win our nation's wars.
Yeah.
The second one, the secret one that meant the most to me was to develop these Marines to go back to society as better citizens. Okay, so there's this changing people and providing value, growing them. And so for me, I didn't realize it on how much that meant to me until I learned about this talent community, right? Executive search. And once I communicated with the gentleman that pulled me from the military over to Korn Ferry, it aligned and it made sense. Now, that only happened because I had 200 conversations with individuals networking on LinkedIn, reaching out, having the conversation of how are you successful? Share with me how you've been successful. If you were in my shoes, what advice would you give yourself? Right? These types of questions to large, people with massive responsibilities were very formative for me in understanding how to step out of the military well.
And that's what I tell everybody. So, but 200 interviews is a lot of work. And, but if you want to put in the work, you're going to find your success. So we're getting close to 40 minutes already. I don't like to go over 40 minutes. So 50% of the people you reach out to with these incredible jobs don't reply. So I guess you got to be able to deal with rejection, especially selling as well. When we talk about your day, can you kind of break how much of your day is like business development? How much of your day is finding candidates? How much of it's doing phone calls? How much of it's things? Can you kind of talk about from like what time you start to what time you end?
Sure. Yeah. So I normally start at 8, let's say. I start at 8 o'clock, and I always do business development at the beginning of the day. So this is my genuine outreach to individuals with personal messages. And so I'll do that for about the first hour. And now I create a campaign plan for the 6 months. So that way it's just not sporadic, right? Where am I focusing? Why am I focusing there? And let's see how it's successful. Then I'll mainly turn to interviews that I've had scheduled for these are for candidates now. And so I'll go from interview to the next. And now it isn't quick, right? This isn't a skills check. No. This is a character check.
Yeah.
This is a, who are you? Did you actually do it? Or did someone else that you were attached to solve all the problems?
Right.
And so I'll spend 2 to 3 hours with candidates before they are ever presented to the client. I mean, really know these folks. And so I'll do that throughout the day. And these are interviews that, are, like I said, changing from role to role for the different projects that I'm on. And also a lot of it is Mike making acquaintances like this. And so my BD, these outreach things will be, hey, it'd be great to connect with you, to share with you how I believe I can provide value, right? So that's the selling too much. In a lot of ways, I want to meet you.
Right.
Maybe I have something that might make sense for you later on. Now, it's not a made up thing, but certainly I'll reach out to CEOs and say, hey, it'd be great to get to know you because we have stuff coming in the hopper and I want to know what you're interested in so I can reach out later on. And so I'll have lots of conversations throughout the day getting to meet people because I hope to provide value to them. And then they can also help me out too. So it's a bit of this network growing.
Right.
Many say, hey, call me back anytime, Wayne. If you have a search, I would love to help out. Right? Because who doesn't want to help a friend find a great job?
Right.
So that's my day. And then I'll usually work until about 5. And then, now that I'm out of the Marine Corps, I go to the gym in the evening. Right?
I work out in the morning.
Changed it a bit there. But you got to take care of yourself, right? And it's a bit about not only is work important, but you're important. Okay.
Yeah.
Happy people execute good work.
Right.
Okay? And so I work to really prioritize my life, taking care of myself, being a great husband to my wife. And then also, once those things are there, I can be a great consultant and teammate at Reigns.
Yep. No, I love it. So 2 questions, because we're already at 41 minutes. This might be almost at my longest one ever. 2 questions are, I guess, one, what would be your number one tip to a transitioning service member?
My number one tip is live your life by design.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And so you have to have the discipline to do the outreach. Now, let me focus in on what my one tip here is that the job you want is not posted on LinkedIn. The job you want comes from networking.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So use LinkedIn, reach out to anyone you want because they will get back to you for the most part.
Right.
Okay. And you drive your career.
Mm-hmm.
You drive your networking. And Mike, we could talk for another 20 minutes on how to do that well, because it is the key. But your transition, live it by your design, which is a lot of effort, but don't wait for anyone to come to you. Carpe diem, get after it. You've been trained to achieve. You've been trained to win. Go win your transition.
Every successful, like when you talk about like the incredible success stories of a transitioning service member finding a great role right out the gate, was because they owned it and put the work in.
That's right.
Like really put the work in to find that opportunity. Very rarely have I seen someone just stumble into something. And if they have, it's because they were just so incredible while they were in. They had access to all these contracts.
And if you're a junior enlisted infantry guy, let's say, I hear so many times when I was doing the exit program, I forget what it's called, they go, I don't have any skills. I just know how to go camping and shoot. No, that is so untrue. You have incredible level of skills, right? You know how to take an objective and go after it. You know how to lead people. You're responsible. You're disciplined.
Training.
These are valuable things, and do not diminish what you've done, because you are valuable. You've given a lot to your country, and continue to use the things that you've learned to get after it.
Yep. And the person that really puts in that work to not say, I only do this, but to build relationships and say, how do I translate it?
Right.
What do you do? How does it align to what I've done? Those people that build those relationships, regardless of what the career field were, really stand out.
That's right.
I agree with you 100% there. Number 2, if anyone has a question, can they reach out to you? Please.
I still mentor and coach quite a few transitioning vets on how I was successful, and also with things that I have seen help. So certainly reach out to me on LinkedIn, Wayne Worthington, and then also my business email is W Worthington at ReignsInternational.com.
Okay.
But always here to help, to provide insight, or to pass you along to someone that might make sense.
I love it. So if you are considering a career in the talent field, or if you want to know, there's a lot of senior leaders that want to get to the CMO level or the C-suite level, and you want to have that conversation with Wayne about what it would take to get you there, I strongly encourage you to reach out. So Wayne, thank you very much for now the longest interview I've ever done in this Day at Work series, but it flew by.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you volunteering, an hour of your day to give back. And if there's anything I can do in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out.
I will, Mike. It's been a pleasure, and thanks for having me on.
Yep. Have a great day.
Thank you.